We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the New World Order. David Rockefeller speaking at a UN business conference on September 14th, 1994. One thing I can say, my friends, it was never fulfilled. But can it still happen? Will they continue it? Absolutely. Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Tuesday, March 21st, 2017. I am podcasting at CJ's Java Lounge, located at 400 Southwest 1st Avenue, or you could say New River Drive in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's right along the bridge, Andrews Avenue Bridge. You make your first right, you go all the way down, turn and go and hit the building, which is the New River Yacht Club, or the Squeeze Nightclub, to all your folks out there that are familiar with the area. Always support mom and pa, shop local, and learn not to support big corporate franchises and all that. And I say that out of respect. One of the quotes, the reason why I read this quote, because Mr. Rockefeller himself has died yesterday. And of course, you're going to hear the mainstream newspapers praising how great this man was. I did a little short, quick viewpoint on Instagram. Just go Loki Luck number 3 and see it for yourself. Hit my Facebook page. I did post it on Twitter as well. How I felt about this New World Order piece of garbage. One murderous tyrant. All those people that complain talk about Adolf Hitler, this and that, and you still want to respect this individual, you're just a damn hypocrite as far as I'm concerned. Looks like he had a 7th heart transplant, and he croaked. According to the newspapers, he had a congestive heart failure yesterday. But his vision of achieving a new world order in his life is incomplete. But one thing for sure, every single individual out there, like-minded, has to remain vigilant. Like the old saying, when one tyrant falls, another one shall arise. It was funny because the stocks went down a couple 100 points, and everyone's flipping out. I believe why the stocks went down, not total plummet, but a slight crash, because this man we're going to be talking about only will be addressing on that, nothing else, on David Rockefeller. A lot of us have chit-chats, discussions. I have a friend of mine who's a discussion who studied this stuff for years and got involved in some of the activities, including going after folks, finding out about black helicopters, FEMA camps, and all that, and had a nice little chat about members of his family will be taking his place, or his bodyguard. One of his name is Jim Ford, can be the next in line. James Ford, to be exact. It's just a claim. He has a lot of merit to back it up. He's been to so many of these meetings. The man has a lot of knowledge. Probably has a lot more money that is not really that disclosed. So, something to really look at. So I'll be talking about that and talk about some of the butt lugs in politics, praising him as a great humanitarian. You know who they are, so I know you folks that they won't be surprised. So we're going to talk about this great, the late, not so great New World Order asset. In an activist point of view, Mr. Globalist himself. We'll start off by the Free Thought Project, and he did put a link on activist post. And it says this is by James Samropoulos. Billionaire globalist David Rockefeller dies at an age of 101. He has that disgusting look of his face in the suit and tie. Looked like a well-dressed, semi-slim version of Jabba the Hutt. So I'm going to continue on here. Multi-billionaire globalist David Rockefeller has died at the age of 101. Rockefeller was the last surviving grandson of John D. Rockefeller, the founder of the Standard Oil Company, which he built on an oil empire that made him America's first billionaire and transformed his family into the one of the most powerful in the world. David Rockefeller was a re-owned banker and philanthropist who controlled Chase Manhattan Bank for more than a decade. Rockefeller worked diligently to spread globalist neoliberal capitalism to the world. So, statism, to be exact, not open free market. And in the process, wielded uncanny global political influence. According to the report in the New York Times, Chase Manhattan has long been known as a Rockefeller bank, though the family never owned more than 5% of its shares. But Mr. Rockefeller was more than a steward. As a chairman and chief executive throughout the 1970s, he made it David's Bank, as many called it, expanding its operations internationally. His stature was greater than any corporate title might convey. However, his influence was felt in Washington and foreign capitals in the corridors of the New York City government, arts museums, great universities, and public schools. Mr. Rockefeller could well be the last of an increasingly less visible family to have cut so imposing a figure on the world stage as a peripatetic advocate of the economic interest of the United States and of his own bank. He was a force in a global financial affairs and in his country's foreign policy. He was received in foreign capital with the honors according a chief of state. The businessman who has an estimated fortune of $3 billion retired as Chase Manhattan in 1981 after a 35-year career. Rockefeller was known for his intimate embrace of international politics, as noted by the New York Times. His foray into international politics also drew criticism, notably in 1979 when he and former Secretary of State Henry A. Kissinger persuaded President Jimmy Carter to admit the recently deposed Shah of Iran to the United States for cancer treatment. The Shah's arrival in New York enraged revolutionary followers of the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, provoking them to seize the United States Embassy in Iran and hold American diplomats hostage for more than a year. Mr. Rockefeller was assailed as well for befriending autocratic foreign leaders in an effort to establish and extend his bank's presence in their country. They had a lot more than that, but that's just an example, my friends. He spent his life in the club of the ruling class and was loyal to members of the club, no matter what they did. New York Times columnist David Brooks wrote in 2002, citing the profitable deals Mr. Rockefeller had cut with oil-rich dictators, Soviet party bosses, and Chinese perpetrators of the Cultural Revolution. The billionaire died in his sleep at home in Pocantico Hills, New York, on Monday morning as a result of congestive heart failure, according to family spokesperson Fraser P. Saito. In a statement from the Rockefeller Foundation confirming his death, he was described as one of the most influential figures in history of American philanthropy and finance, considered by many to be America's last great international business statement. He didn't do it for being nice. I'll proceed. Rockefeller is a prime example of the dominance of ruling elite oligarchy. He stood at the pinnacle of private-government collision and was often used an intermediary in diplomatic negotiations, a back channel. Essentially, Rockefeller helped usher in an era of billionaire globalist domination over nation-state sovereignty. This influence is best summed up by David Rockefeller in a direct quote from his memoir. Some even believe we, Rockefeller family, are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it. Rockefeller did more to shatter the sovereignty of nations and push the world toward a one-world globalist government than anyone else in history, rather than allowing individuals to decide the trajectory of their own societies. Men like Rockefeller have worked tirelessly to shape the world to operate by their own designs. As just one example of an interpretation, what this tyrannical parasite has done. Yes, let me pay my respects. I'll just take a dump in the middle of the floor and walk away. I can say that. And I don't care if you like it or not. But it has some great facts in here as well. So I'm going to continue on by an article that came out yesterday by the New American. It's by William F. Jasper, David Rockefeller, Mr. Globalist, dead at 101. David Rockefeller, the last of his generation of the fabled banking dynasty synonymous with wealth and power, died at the family's sprawling country estate in Pocantico Hills, New York on Monday, March 20th. He was 101, the grandson of Standard Oil co-founder John D. Rockefeller. He was the youngest of the five brothers and the one destined to leave the biggest mark on the world. The titles of news stories and obituaries announcing his passing refer to him as a banker, billionaire, businessman, and philanthropist. He was much more than that, but there has been little amongst the glowing tributes to the Rockefeller-friendly media to hint at his darker passions and accomplishments, particularly as they relate to his promotion of globalism and world government. During the 1970s and 1980s, especially, David Rockefeller was considered knowledgeable observers across the political spectrum to be the undisputed chairman of the Eastern establishment. In addition to being chairman of the Chase Manhattan Bank, the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, and the America Society. David Rockefeller was a director, trustee, and or funder of numerous foundations, corporations, organizations, and think tanks. Fortune magazine put his personal net worth at about $3 billion in 2015. However, the Rockefeller family empire of companies, directorships, and foundations, not to mention David Rockefeller's incomparable Rolodex of personal contacts with presidents, prime ministers, poobahs, and potentates, extended his influence far beyond his pecking order in the personal net worth game. Typical of many obituaries, the one provided by the Associated Press described him as a growing up in a famous American family that taught its children that wealth brings great responsibility. Even as children, he and his siblings had to set aside portions of their allowances for charitable giving. And according to the AP account, he embraced business and traveled and spoke widely as a champion of enlightened capitalism. I can say one thing, my friends. Adam Smith is rolling in his grave. What the AP obit fails to mention that is that David Rockefeller's definition of enlightened capitalism had nothing to do with traditional notions of free enterprise, market economics, and property rights, and everything to do with promoting global, centralized government and bureaucratic, technocratic rule, a new world order overseen by an elite oligarchy of which the Rockefellers would be primus inter pares, first among equals. That means better than you, you supposed to serve them. In Memoirs, his autobiography published in 2002, David Rockefeller made his startling confession. For more than a century, ideological extremists at either end of the political spectrum have seized upon well-publicized incidents such as my encounter with Castro to attack the Rockefeller family or for the ordinate influence they claim we wield over American political and economic institutions. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it. A longtime leader of the ultra-secretive Bilderberg group conferences, David Rockefeller had to say to the accommodating members of the establishment media in attendance at the 1991 Bilderberg meeting, "We are grateful to the Washington Post, New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose director have attended our meetings and respected their promise of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the life of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. A supranational sovereignty of intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries." Okay, I will proceed. Rockefeller's confidence in the establishment fake news media was well placed. They made sure that any publicity asked questions concerning the machinations and inordinate influence of groups such as Bilderberg, Trelawney Commission, the CFR, etc., would be smothered, sent down the Aurelian memory hole. And anyone who persisted in seeking answers to these questions would be tarred as a wacko conspiracy theorist. Globalism in action. United Nations, NAFTA, WTO, FTAA, TPP, TTIP. It is no secret that the Rockefeller family wrote the check for the United Nations that enabled that aspiring dictators club to buy the Turtle Bay property in New York City that became its global headquarters. And American taxpayers have been paying for it in numerable ways ever since. Likewise, the Rockefellers utilized both their financial and political clout to advance schemes for empowering various UN-related institutions, the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, UNICEF, etc. And some people think the World Bank and IMF are great entities. I will continue on. The Rockefellers' hands behind the creation of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, the Central American Free Trade Agreement, CAFTA, Security and Prosperity Partnership, SPP, which is the North American Union, and the free trade areas of the Americas, FTAA, was also clearly apparent, even though the controlled media completely covered it up this important aspect of these regional trade agreements. New American repeatedly exposed the secretive dealings of the Rockefeller New World Order operatives in these crucial, important developments. Writing about the 2001 Summit of the Americas in Quebec, for instance, we reported Pincer's strategy behind the FTAA. The Quebec Summit, like the 1994 Summit of the Americas in Miami, where the 34-nation free trade area of the Americas was launched, was completely a production of the CFR and the Rockefeller family. As we noted in the pages following the Miami event, the Summit of the Americas and the FTAA were conceived, nurtured, and brought fruition of the Councils of the Americas. David Rockefeller, founder and honorary chairman, the American Society. David Rockefeller, chairman, the Forum of the Americas. David Rockefeller, founder, the U.S. Council of the Mexico-U.S. Business Committee. Rodney C. Rockefeller, chairman, the Council of Foreign Relations. David Rockefeller, former chairman, the Trilateral Commission. David Rockefeller, founder and honorary chairman, the Chase Manhattan Bank. David Rockefeller, former chairman, and the Institute for International Economics. David Rockefeller, financial backer and board member. Moreover, we pointed out, the Miami Summit has come close to the heels of the globalist victorious passage of NAFTA, accomplished thanks to plentiful line, bribing, arm twisting, and deceiving of a one-worlder, Harry Kissinger, as a member of the Executive Committee of the Trilateral Commission, a longtime power in the CFR, called the vote on NAFTA the single most important decision that Congress will make during the President Clinton's first term. Indeed, Kissinger admitted in the Los Angeles Times in 1993 that the passage of NAFTA will represent the most creative step towards a new world order taken by any group of countries since the end of the Cold War. NAFTA is not a conventional trade agreement, he said, but the architecture of a new international system. David Rockefeller's behind-the-scenes manipulation in the election of Georgia Governor Jimmy Carter to the White House in 1976 began to be a significant public issue as it became apparent that this supposed outsider had staffed his administration with the insiders from the elite, Trilateral Commission, and its sister organization, the CFR. The Trilateral Commission, we noted in the New American last year, was founded in 1973 by Uber banker David Rockefeller, who was at the time the CFR's chairman of the board. He retired from the active position in 1985, but has remained as an honorary chairman ever since. The TC serves the same one world agenda as the CFR, but has joined Asian, European, and Canadian one world elites to its American globalists. The late Barry Goldwater referred to it as David Rockefeller's newest cabal. It is intended to be, said the former Republican Party presidential candidate and author of Conscience of the Conservative, the vehicle for multinational consolidation of the commercial and banking interests by seizing control of the political government of the United States. In his 1979 memoir, with no apologies, Goldwater stated, "In my view, the Trilateral Commission represents a skillful, coordinated effort to seize control and consolidate the four center of powers: political, monetary, influential, and ecclesiastical. What the trilaterals truly intend is the creation of a worldwide economic power superior to the political governments of the nation states involved. As managers and creators of the system, they will rule the future." David Rockefeller responded to these and other attacks at the time of the op-ed in the Wall Street Journal on April 30th, 1990. Rockefeller, who at one time was the chairman on both CFR and the Trilateral Commission, said that far from being a coterie of international conspirators were designed to covertly ruling the world, the Trilateral Commission is in reality a group of concerned citizens' interested in fostering greater and understanding and cooperation among international allies. Yes, David and the Trilacs are merely concerned citizens working selflessly for greater understanding and cooperation. One moment. Take a shot of my coffee here. Progressivism, communism, socialism, fascism, perversion, environmentalism. Long before George Soros became the sugar daddy of the American left and the Bete Noir of the American right, David Rockefeller was bankrolling and promoting huge array of statist and subversive movements through his network of foundations and organizations. Together with the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, the Rockefeller Group of foundations helped push America toward ever bigger, more intrusive, more costly, more centralized government. He also funded the creation of a vast army of organizations that have formed the basis of exploiting most of the wedge issues: conflicts in our society, abortion, population control, homosexual LBGT rights, gender identity, immigration, migration, gun control, voter identification, environment, global warming, social justice, racial justice, etc. Concern about the subversive activities of these great foundations became serious enough that 2 congressional investigations were launched in the early 1950s. Of considerable concern for investigators was not only that the foundations frequently used their tax-free status to fund projects that were inimical to American society, but also that often the foundation grants were designed simply as seed money to start programs that were intended to become government programs that the taxpayers then paying directly for the foundation's initiated projects. See, look at that. Taxation is theft. Good example, my friends. One recent example of this type is the Obama administration's Global Health Initiative, a population control scheme that was actually launched by David Rockefeller's Good Club, an elite coterie of billionaires that include George Soros, Ted Turner, Bill Gates, Michael Bloomberg, and Oprah Winfrey. And you hear about Oprah Winfrey, that dingbat baboon, and I say that ethically, is running. You think about running for president in 2020? Hopefully you Oprah Winfrey worshippers better start paying attention. She don't give a damn about you or your family. Plain and simple. Among the many additional accomplishments, David Rockefeller can claim to have a major role in the promotion of socialism throughout Western Europe following World War II via the Marshall Plan and the lodging of the sovereign-destroying European Union, promotion of cooperative and unconstitutional foreign aid programs, as well as an ever-increasing funding for UN agencies, projects, and programs, funding for the Kinsey Institute and the perverse and criminal pedophile activities of Alfred Kinsey and other sex experts, promoting communist China, transforming it from a backward third world country into a global military, economic, technological power. In addition to placing his top protege, Henry Kissinger, into the Nixon administration. Rockefeller returned from a visit to Communist China in 1973 to chillingly declare that the social experiment in China under Chairman Mao's leadership is one of the most important and successful in human history. Mass murderer Mao's social experiment had by that time slaughtered up to 64 million Chinese. That's right. Never again, right? Promoting the leftward drift of the legal profession and the so-called social sciences by funding a plethora of leftist scholars, journalists, and organizations such as Gunnar Madral, Franz Boas, John Dewey, Stuart Chase, the Social Science Research Council, and the National Education Association, etc. While living a luxurious globe-hopping lifestyle, he funded numerous militant green groups that agitated for ever harsher restrictions on energy use by the common man and increasing in power of UN bodies to exercise more control over all human activity. While many eulogies by the rich and famous will sing his praises and media obituaries will laud his planetheric, philanthropic giving. David Rockefeller's true legacy is one of the aiding tyrants and tyranny, which simultaneously undermining Christian morality, our constitutional order of checks and balances, and our national sovereignty. And there's plenty of links you can look at this as well. Just another example of his great achievements. So, like I said, my friends, you're not going to hear us in the lamestream news. You're not going to hear it from our ass-white former presidents. Possibly Donald Trump may speak highly of him. I don't know. If he does, you better start thinking about that. If he actually addresses it. Question these individuals. He doesn't look like this photo here. Does look like a. Wow, man! This does look like a rat. Wow. All right. Well, another one from S.M. Gibson. I believe this is originally written in Anti-Media. Oh yeah. Sorry, it came out today. Great Humanitarian. Clinton mourns David Rockefeller. Social media was set ablaze Monday morning with the articles announcing the death of 101-year-old David Rockefeller. While most in the comment sections were not mourning the loss of the former chief executive of Chase Manhattan Bank, political figures from both sides of the aisle felt compelled to publicly express their sympathies for the deceased billionaire. Bill and Hillary Clinton paid tribute to the career banker by releasing a statement soon after Fraser P. Seidel, a Rockefeller family spokesman, confirmed the past. The Clintons, whose remarks were published on the Clinton Foundation website, read in part, David Rockefeller was a consummate businessman, a great humanitarian, and a serious scholar. He was a kind, good man to all who met him. Hillary and I are grateful for his friendship and his remarkable life. Can I say the word blasphemy? The statement from President Clinton and Secretary Clinton on the passing of David Rockefeller. And we'll continue on here. Throughout his life, he used his fame and fortune to do good here and abroad. His many efforts included the establishment of the Council of the Americas 5 decades ago, which was instrumental in my administration's effort to alleviate the financial crisis in Latin America and boost trade in the Americas and in the Caribbean. His tremendous support of arts and humanities in America gave millions of people in communities across the country the opportunity to experience a great heritage of painting, dance, music, and so much more. For these efforts and many others, I was proud to present him with our nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. We celebrate a long life, well lived, and send our gratitude and prayers to his family and all who supported him on his remarkable journey. I'm like pretty damn speechless to an extent. And I could rant and rave and digress and be using derogatory comments on what this son of a bitch has to say. But I will continue. Former President George Herbert Walker Bush and his wife Barbara also issued their condolences in a public statement of their own, laminated in the loss of their wonderful friend. I'll read it right down here. Barbara and I were deeply saddened to hear that our wonderful friend David Rockefeller has passed from this good earth. So many knew him as one of the most generous philanthropist. Anthropist, yeah. And brightest point of light, who is carrying and commitment to the widest range of worthy causes, touched and lifted innumerable lives. David was also very active in national and international affairs, and his connections and keen aptitude for issues made him a valuable advisor to presidents of both parties. Yours truly certainly included. He was an avid and able collector of art, but most of all, David had a gift for making and keeping friends. On that note, Barbara and I will surely miss our annual visits with him in Maine. We send our most sincere and heartfelt condolences to his children and extended family. The grandson of Standard Oil co-founder John D. Rockefeller was also eulogized by former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. No individual has contributed more to the commercial and civic life of New York City over a longer period of time than David Rockefeller, Bloomberg said in a statement. During my time in City Hall, he was always there for the city when we called. Yep. These bend over Bobs, Uncle Toms, Aunt Jemimas, and Gino. Praise this man. Like I said, my fellow brothers and sisters who are listening to this show, never believe the hype. But it's nothing new. He's a great man. Yeah, praise Mao Tse-tung. Yeah, if you praise Adolf Hitler, you all call him anti-Semitic, right? Yeah. But okay to slaughter 40 million Chinese people. Yeah, typical ass clowns who let the cows out. Moo. I'm going to hit the next one here because I'll be ranting too long. It's from the Earthchild in South Africa. Administrator L is the name. David Rockefeller, one of the most evil men alive, is finally dead at 101. Conspiracy theorists the world over can rejoice. One of the most notoriously evil men in the world is no longer with us. Former Chase Manhattan chief executive David Rockefeller has died at the age of 101. David Rockefeller died in his sleep at home in Pocantico Hills, New York, on Monday morning as a result of congestive heart failure, according to the family spokesperson, Fraser P. Seidel. The businessman who had an estimated fortune of $3 billion retired as head of Chase Manhattan in 1981 at a 35-year career. For every second in David Rockefeller's long life, he has been one of the wealthiest human beings on the planet. Like the devil in the song by the Rolling Stones, he has always been a man of wealth and taste. Growing up in a 9-story house of full Renaissance treasures doesn't make a normal child. If we were ever elected a president of the United States of America, it will be a demotion. David Rockefeller is the only surviving grandson of America's first billionaire, John Davidson Rockefeller. Because of his tremendous fortune and influence, David Rockefeller was at the forefront of the minds of every conspiracy theorist. He got a character on a hit cartoon, The Simpsons, that for the world seemed to be modeled him after Mr. Burns. It is impossible to imagine walking a mile in his shoes, but how can we be so quick to judge a life of most could never begin to comprehend? Read on for more facts that make it exceedingly easy to dislike such a person. David Rockefeller, traitor of the U.S. to the U.S., his nation of birth. How much money does David Rockefeller have? What is David Rockefeller worth? Will you find many official statements on seemingly reputed websites that can cite an obscene number? But you shouldn't believe it because the real number won't be found. Call it a 404 page not found error, if you like. But David's grandfather was the first billionaire in America. And if you know how it takes money to make money, then you know the official numbers are just a junk for public consumption. Sorry about that. If you're the one of the wealthiest men on the planet, then you would surely prefer that people believe that Bill Gates is worth more than you. And if you leave a trail for a small portion of your wealth, this is what David Rockefeller has done. He rumored to be worth over $1 trillion, but Wikipedia says he's worth only $2.9 billion, which is a number so ridiculously low one has to wonder if the person who put it, their own knows how to balance their own bank account. I thought I poked my dog in the eye. Wikipedia is terrific for facts, but only if they fit the agenda for global oligarchy. How much money did Davidson Rockefeller have? Well, according to politically correct sources on what is really controlled information on the internet, David Rockefeller's grandfather had just $1 billion adjusted to inflation. That amount today will be like $318.3 billion. Large sum of his fortune would donate to causes like medical research, but to assume that David Rockefeller inherited less than $3 billion from his grandfather would rather be rather silly. Now let's try to adjust the total for inflation and add interest accrued. Would anyone like to attempt the math? We haven't discussed how much David made in his lifetime, but still, even the conservative estimates are completely utterly obscene. How did they obtain so much vast wealth? Well, a lot of it's blood money or money stolen from the poorest of the poor. I shall explain. Being obscenely rich is one thing, but why do so many people believe David Rockefeller was pure evil? Did you know people are happy about his death? That's because David Rockefeller was a huge part of virtually every secret elite organization on the planet. He had his hands in the military-industrial complex, profiting from pretty much all the wars. He has secretly had his hands in the arms industry and was a major player among the bank cartels for decades. He even rumored to be part of organ trafficking, sex slaves, and other black market illegal trading. His work under the guise of philanthropy has caused the deaths and needless suffering of millions. If you know who a person's friends are, you can then tell what sort of person he is. David Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger have been very close friends since they first met in 1954. Why do people consider Henry Kissinger so evil? Answer that one, and you'll know the same thing is true about Rockefeller. Despite the monumental power and international influence Kissinger has wielded over the past several decades, even more wielded by David Rockefeller. In the U.S., since the false flag attacks upon our nation by global oligarchy on 9/11, the people of the nation have seen tremendous drops in their personal wealth and also huge losses in jobs and opportunities. This has all been part of the plan for the banking cartel, and millions now know it. Many people believe Rockefeller was directly involved with the funding and the planning of 9/11. For some, it sounds far-fetched, but for those who have dug deeper into the subject, they know there's a lot of damning evidence to prove it. But there was never anyone powerful enough that was willing to take him to court. Some whistleblowers have spoken up with evidence, but they were all murdered, most notably Aaron Russo. You should hear what he had to say. Why do people hate David Rockefeller? A terrific answer would be because he hates us, wants global governance, and is actively pursuing whatever evil he thinks needs doing it in order to make it happen. With only purposeful ignorance or stupidity could lead one to be satisfied with the current state of affairs in Washington, D.C. Most people still very much love this country. Only terrific strain and sorrow would force citizens to submit to any outside governance, but David Rockefeller's life has been dedicated towards such ends. People are right to have and to hold total hatred for Mr. David Rockefeller's actions on planet Earth, and especially in regards to his nation of birth. Now we'll continue on here. David Rockefeller, a life of deceit and dishonor. We are grateful to the Washington Post and the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises to discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. A supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national all-determination democracy practiced in past centuries. And this is David Rockefeller, June 5th, 1991, at the Bilderberger meeting in Baden, Germany, a meeting also attended then Governor Bill Clinton. If you have ever entertained the passing thoughts that mass media exists to create division and not unity, well, you're on to something. If you realize that nothing of any value is transmitted to you on television, then you are, in my never humble opinion, a very, very bright person. If you've gone even further and realize that mass media and flow of misinformation is planned and contrived by global oligarchs, then pat yourself on the back. You are utterly brilliant. You can also pay your dues to David Rockefeller for this and spit on his very grave when you get the chance. The man has invested far more billions into mass media than the numbers cited on Wikipedia as his total wealth. Of course, he is an international banker with close ties to the worst family on planet Earth, the Rothschild family. In fact, if you point your finger at anything found in the U.S., somewhere lurking in the unpublished darkness of a monopolized mass media bent on disinformation, there you will find David Rockefeller. We can all rejoice that he's gone. That is true. More devious actions from this ungrateful vampire. Let's have to look at this man. Yeah, that man has one gray spirit or dark spirit of envy, hatred, vindication, etc. So yes, we can celebrate if you want of his passing, but always be on guard. Because liberty worldwide has to prevail. I want to do one more little thing here, and that will be all. And this one here is 5 Reasons Billionaire David Rockefeller Won't Be Missed by True Activist. With the New World Order kingpin David Rockefeller dead, here is a look at the top 5 reasons why he was one of the most despised people on earth and won't be missed. It is by Aaron Kazel from We Are Change. With the New World Order, it will be missed. So it's by, repeat itself here. 1. Founder of several secret societies. David Rockefeller was a huge part of virtually every secret society on ultra-rich on the planet. He was not just a member of the Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group. He was reportedly the founder, though through these secret societies and other, like the occult Bohemian Club, Rockefeller conspired to control media and governments around the world to establish his goal towards a one-world government, even once thanking the media for his complicity. And as I already repeat, we did it said in Baden, Germany. I'll have to repeat it. 2. Population control. Rockefeller is no stranger to the agenda of population control. In a speech on September 14, 1994, during the annual ambassadors' dinner, he discussed how the UN should sustain the world's population, noting that improved public health has just caused global life expectancy to rise from 46 years in the 1960s to 60 years at the time, stabilizing the population. As Rockefeller called it, actually meant sterilization, vaccinations, encouraging abortions, using food as a weapon, and viewing disease and war as a means of correction to stop population growth. Okay? I will continue on. Rockefeller Foundation was behind unethical experiments on the population. Flowing from the Rockefeller's own speech, we have the fact that Rockefeller Institute was allegedly behind unethical experiments on the population. A few include infecting Guatemalans with STDs, sponsoring a plot by Dr. Cornelius P. Rhodes to infect Puerto Ricans with cancer, an allegation which Rhodes strongly denied and dismissed as a joke. David Rockefeller joined the Rockefeller Institute Board of Trustees in the 1940s, was its chairman from 1950 to 1975, chaired the board's executive committee from 1975 to 1995, and became honorary chairman and life trustee. For Globalist Connection, through his influence in various secret societies, Rockefeller established himself as one of the globalist main frontmen. Rockefeller and his affiliates has also admittedly been working against U.S. interests and setting up one world political and economic structure, New World Order. In his book Memoirs, Rockefeller admitted being part of the secret ball of people doing just this. And it's the same thing I read before. I'll continue on. The Rockefeller Foundation and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have specifically been working together to tandem to create means for depopulation through the use of vaccines. Check out the video below of Bill Gates talking about how this could be done. Gates and Rockefeller are both confirmed Bilderberg attendees and could have been collaborating together knowingly. Additionally, the CIA and Rockefeller family also have a history working together specifically in regards to handling of classified information. The CIA has used the Rockefeller's barn as a vault to store 327 top secret and CSCI documents covering a variety of topics, and even suggested giving Mrs. Rockefeller a top-level security clearance. The documents were later moved to the Ford Presidential Library. 5. Worldwide influence. A major study from Global Policy Forum linked the Rockefeller Foundation as using their money and power to control wealth and agricultural policies around the globe. Calling them driving forces behind global multi-stakeholder partnerships, the Global Policy Forum says that mushrooming the global partnerships and vertical funds has led to isolated and often poorly coordinated solutions, which they claim have contributed to the institutional weakening of the United Nations and undermined the implementation of integrated development strategies at national levels. In short, we know that Rockefeller's influence, at least in the realms of health and agriculture, stretch across the globe. Then there is also the issue of the international banking system, whose influence spans throughout the world. The Rockefeller family has been labeled as one of the driving actors in this field as well. After the 1973 trip to China, David Rockefeller praised communist dictator Mao Tse-tung, who has slaughtered over 40 million people. Who knows how many people died at the hands of people financed by David Rockefeller. Yep. That's all I have to say. If all you those individuals out there still think he's a great man and still going to pay homage to him, you're a bunch of one-illed individuals, and I say this politely. May that vampire rest in shame. I recommend people have silver stakes and possibly throw holy water on him. See if he sizzles. And it's, like I said, it's all out of principle. So if you're going to celebrate his death, still be ready regardless. Remain vigilant. Like I said from the very beginning, when one tyrant falls, another one shall arise. And who will it be? Possibly from the Rockefeller bloodline? Maybe his security guard, James Ford? Something to think about. But we know one thing, the spiritual warfare, information war, shall continue. And that is it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us on your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you want to send me something that's interesting that I may want to check out, whatever you do, please address your comments with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Tumblr, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, and Minds.com. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3, or just LokiLuck3 at gmail.com, and or feel free to contact me at LokiLuck03 at protonmail.com, which is PROTON mail. If you want those that little cryptic things. All right. Okay, my friends. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.